Welcome everybody to the Tripolitan. This is our second episode, and you have Rafat Yamak with you. I'm really excited for this episode, and honestly, it's been weighing on my mind for a long time, and weighing on many people's minds for a long time. Because although I'm excited to delve into it, it is a heavy topic, and there's a lot of emotions attached to this topic. Today we have a special guest, Rukiye Turdush, who is a Uyghur-Canadian human rights activist, writer, and researcher at the Uyghur Research Institute. And before we begin, I really wanted just to offer Rukiye my condolences to your people, to the Uyghur people who have been experiencing severe hardships that we haven't heard about since, honestly, since the horrific times of medieval times or something along those lines. You hear stories and you read articles about what's happening in East Turkestan, and you can't help but to feel extreme emotion about what's going on. So I just wanted to send my condolences before we begin today's episode. So welcome Rukiye Turdush to the Tripolitan. We're lucky to have you here, and thank you for agreeing to be on.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you, Rukiye. I really appreciate it. And there is much to discuss regarding the ongoing genocide that's happening against the Uyghur people. If you can give us a brief summary of the Uyghur people, who are the Uyghur people? What does the word Uyghur mean even? I think many people are curious to learn more about your peoples. So the floor is yours.
Uyghur people are Turkic-speaking Muslims, Sunni Muslims. They live in right now, currently, northwest China. The name of this place, the region, was East Turkestan. It was an independent country and colonized by China. Uyghur means United Nations, United people, because Turkic people has many tribes before, and they were become united, and they established states, so they called it state, United States, city states. Like many years ago, they established states, independent states, and that means united. So like Uyghur means united, Uyghur means united people. So they were Muslim. Majority of Uyghurs are Muslim. Maybe few, I don't know, but other religion. And they speak Turkic, one of the Turkic dialect, like close to Central Asian people, Uzbek, Kazakhs, and like that. And they live in East Turkestan. And East Turkestan has natural boundaries as well as a constructed border formed by the Great Wall, if you look at the map. In the past, before the Mongol and the Manchu invasion to the region, the Uyghurs established their own kingdoms, like I said, and the status as such as the former Edkut Uyghur state and the Karahanli state. Today, the Chinese government claims that East Turkestan was part of its former Han Dynasty. Since Han Dynasty, this area belonged to China. But this claim remains unfounded. The Han Dynasty only captured the Turpan area of the region. Just the Turpan is one small city over there. That area, a minute portion of the west region of Tarim and the Jongaria of East Turkestan. And it was very short period in 120 BCE. The Han Chinese state was never able to rule East Turkestan until after 1949, until China established that Chinese Communist nation state. So People's Republic of China.
Very, very interesting. I mean, you see the Uyghur people, you hear about the Uyghur people, and they're obviously very distinct from the rest of mainland China. Basically, the Uyghurs are Turkic people, whereas the Chinese, you have the Han Chinese, you have Hui. And I don't know if I'm mispronouncing these names, so feel free to, interject whenever I'm mispronouncing. Even the word Uyghur, I feel like I mispronounced it. I feel like the way you said it was Uyghur, right?
Uyghur, yes. Uyghur.
Uyghur, okay. And I've met some Uyghur people here in Texas, and I've seen them communicate with Turkish people, and it seems like they have no issues understanding each other at all. Like even though the geographic the geographic distance between each other is so massive.
You cannot understand right away, but if you communicate 1 month, you will learn.
So it's easy to pick up.
Yeah, easy to pick up because it's dialect. It's not totally 100% similar. It's like 60% similar, maybe 60 or 70.
Okay, great. That's interesting because, like I said, even I was reading this report actually. It's easier for Turkish people from Turkey, basically, to understand Uyghur people more so than Kazakh and Uzbek even.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because the roots of the word are similar, grammar is the same. So like, because Turkish language right now in Turkey was changed a lot too, because they accept a lot of French and English words, right?
Hmm.
So like that's why. But many words still they kept. But Uyghurs kept original Turkish words. That's why.
Okay,
Turkish
so I
language, I
guess
mean.
so I guess the Uyghur speak the most pristine Turkish out of all the Turkic people.
Yeah, Mahmud Kashgari, who wrote the Turkic language dictionary,
Uh-huh.
was in Kashgar, in that
Uh-huh.
region, in East Turkestan. He came from there. He was born there.
Interesting. And Kashgar, I mean, speaking of Kashgar, since you just brought it up, it's a city with profound history, Islamic history. A lot of scholars emerged from this area.
Yep.
I guess most people now they know Urumqi because Urumqi is the capital of the East Turkestan region, but Kashgar also played a tremendous role in Islamic history and in the region of the area. Would you have any more information about Kashgar and its contributions to Islamic history and history in general in the area?
Kashgar was when we established the Karahanli state.
Hmm.
The Kashgar and these area was the densely populated with Uyghurs, and that was the Karahanli was Islamic state. So
Hmm.
that's why Kashgars play important role in Islamic history, and we had a 100 years mosque there called Eitgah Mosque too.
Hmm.
So like we had the other Uyghur state, the adequate Uyghur state in Turpan area too, but at that time they were Buddhists and not the Islamic state, not Islamic at that time. The
Uh-huh.
Uyghurs in other area, not in Kashgar. So like first Atush, Kashgar, those areas become Muslim, then other areas become Muslim. Islam is spread first came there and then spread to other places. That's why, and that was the capital of Karahanli state too, the Yarkand, Kashgar, those areas.
Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but just quick, when you say Qaraqandi, just for our audience, Qaraqandi, this is in modern day Kazakhstan?
No. It's the Karahanli state we established the before the Mongol invaded in that area.
Oh, okay. All right. When I hear Karakandi, I think of the city Karakandi in Kazakhstan. I misheard you.
No.
Okay. Okay, great. So I guess I mean so after the after when Islam comes to East Turkestan and even in I remember reading that even the early companions of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam they had arrived to China way back when during the beginning of Islam's spread all over the world. So it's very interesting to know about Islam's deep roots in this area. It's not something that just came a couple hundred years ago. Islam has been in East Turkestan for a very long time.
Yeah, 1,000 years almost.
Yeah, so are you were you born in Ruqayya? Were you born in East Turkestan or were you
Yeah,
born
I
somewhere
was
else?
born in East Turkestan,
In Urumqi or Kashgar? Where were you exactly?
Gulja.
Okay, where would that be in the map?
It is in the north. It's border of Kazakhstan. It's close to Soviet. I mean, those Central Asia's border of Kazakhstan and Kyrgyzstan. Those areas.
Okay. Very interesting. And your family was also from the same area, your father and mother?
Yes.
Okay. Um, I guess a lot of people also, moving on from the fact that unfortunately many people don't know about East Turkestan's tremendous role in Islamic history, even in our modern era, East Turkestan in 2 points of history in our modern era, and correct me if I'm wrong, East Turkestan was an independent country at one point, 2 times,
Yes,
correct?
yes. Mhm.
Would you briefly kind of go over those two independent periods of this region and how long they were independent before they were annexed by China?
Okay, so talk about that. I have to go back again. When China claimed East Turkestan and the
Hmm.
part of the China. So like they actually invaded East Turkestan in 1949 after the
Hmm.
Chinese Communist state established. Before that, Manchu Empire invaded the region, and Manchu Empire invaded in 1864, and like at that time. No, wait a minute. East Turkestan defeating the Manchu Empire, and because they attacked in 1756, and then after 8 years war, they defeated that they finally defeated the people of East Turkestan and the Manchu Empire and the regaining, but they fight again the Manchu Empire and the regaining their independence in 1864, and they established a state called Yet Shahar state before the Manchu Empire, a second invasion in 1884. So between 1864 and 1884, we established Yet Shahar state in that area. And then
Okay.
1884, Manchu invaded again, and that this time the Manchu won in the war, and they gave the area, changed the name of the area, the region they call Xinjiang, which means newly annexed, newly dominated region. So Xin
Hmm.
means in Chinese is new, region, Jiang means is region, so newly annexed new region for them, for the Chinese. So they give like that name, and the but this was Manchu Empire. That's not the Han Chinese state, nation state,
Hmm.
or
Hmm.
it's different than right now's China, because right now China majority is ethnic Han Chinese. At that time, that was the Manchu, but Manchu didn't come with the settlers like China right now. They controlled with military, so they didn't control completely. Actually, they just used the local leaders and they controlled like that. And
Hmm.
then the recent political history of the Uyghurs during the World War II has been effectively distorted in China's official history. They said this area, Xinjiang, is inseparable part of China. They never been in nation state, but that's totally wrong. It's it's totally wrong because 1933, East Turkestan was established independent East Turkestan Republic, and it was overthrown with the Soviet Union and the militaries, baked with the militaries, and then again Uyghur people uprising, the people of East Turkestan uprising again. They established again in 1944 second East Turkestan Republic. This republic was exist 6 years, but it was established before the Chinese Communist nation state and the Chinese national identity, because at that time there was no Chinese. We had only 6% Han Chinese in the region, and that we established independent East Turkestan Republic in 1944, and China was established in 1949, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
So like we exist before than them. And 1949, with the help of the Stalin, they tried to enter again. In 1955, that finally they controlled us again. So they again invaded us despite decolonization at that time.
So Stalin assisted the Chinese Communist Party in annexing East Turkestan.
Yes,
Okay, that's interesting. Um,
because we had a lot of cotton and the coal, so like Stalin would like to get benefit from the cotton and the coal,
hmm.
and so like they said, okay, that we had this in US, there is in its university library, some of the many of which one I don't remember, one of the university library, and I checked online, there's a telegram between Stalin and the China's leader Mao Zedong,
Hmm.
telegrams, and the Stalin urged him to invade the region, to colonize this region so he can benefit them cotton and the coal, so they can share, they can get those natural resources together. At that time, US didn't do anything too, because they supported China against the Japan, because Japan attacked the US, right? So like Japan
Mhm.
invaded in China, and
Mhm.
Stalin doesn't want to Japan invade in Manchuria too, in Siberia at that area. So
Mhm.
like he was fighting with Japan too. So that's why I think that just because of the Japan, Stalin, they don't want us to independent. He want to please to China, and U.S. don't want to. U.S. want to please to China, to support China too. So that's why they didn't. Nobody care when China invade to East Turkestan.
Right, right. That's really important historical context, because sometimes, many people, they wonder how did this annexation happen with such little international outcry? And then
Because of
when
big powers play, big
yes,
powers, they just want to victimize us because of their own national interest.
right, right. I mean, moving on now from the history of East Turkestan, and honestly, it's a glorious history, but also there's very sad milestones in East Turkestan's history. And one of the most recent, uh, you know, I'm trying to find a word to honestly describe it. This monstrosity that's occurring in East Turkestan by the Chinese state, this genocide that's being perpetrated by against the Uyghur people. One of their tactics, obviously, which you know more than me, is the demographics change that they're trying to do to the region. So they're getting Han Chinese settlers to settle in, and not only that, now they're placing Han Chinese in Uyghur homes. This is
Yep.
something that has been documented. And if you can just expand on what the Chinese state has been doing against the Uyghur people. Obviously, we've seen the internment camps, the stories about the internment camps, which you know, has many people are extremely disturbed to see these pictures and videos emerging in the 21st century. If you can just expand on what the Chinese state is doing, and if you have any personal connections to some of these stories emerging from East Turkestan.
Even though the territory of East Turkestan, recognized by the United Nations as a Chinese territory today, um, since that decolonization period, but it's not fair. But still, the Chinese government does not feel comfortable, because they know that we are the different people. Our religion is different, we look different, and the territory are totally is not belong to them. So
Mhm.
they planned since a long time, since they were invaded, since they are colonized the region. They are founders of Chinese Communist Party. Said we have to, when we have to annex these border territories, Tibet, East Turkestan, and the Mongolia, and we have to forcibly assimilate these people. These people has to be Han Chinese. So their purpose is to make us to be Han Chinese, transformed Uyghurs into ethnic Han Chinese. But it is very difficult for them, because we believe in Islam, and we're not going to be transformed into easily. The Uyghurs not going to be assimilated easily, become Han Chinese. It is so difficult for them. And we don't have, before the 2017, we don't have any marriage, interracial marriage. Nobody, because our religion is, they don't
Mhm.
believe in God. We believe in God. So nobody gonna marry with Han Chinese, even like
Mhm.
economic purpose or anything. Even Uyghurs are so poor, so hardship, so difficulty. There's no marriage. 0.001%, maybe. No, 0.01% they found.
Mhm.
And the Chinese statistics say, how come it's a very low marriage rate? How are we going to assimilate these people? They never marry with us, with the Han Chinese. They don't interact, and we have to change. We have to do something to forcibly assimilate these people, forcibly eradicate these people, because they were thinking their strategy is, we have to eradicate them if we
Mhm.
cannot change them. The Han general, one of the general, one at the military school, he gives speech and he said, if we can change them, if they become Han Chinese, we can keep them. If we cannot change them, kill all of them.
Mhm.
Just to say
Mhm.
it like that. So you have to be survive, you have to be Han Chinese. If not,
Mhm.
they're gonna kill you. And what if your face not look like them? Even you change everything, they still hate you because you don't look like them. So this kind of hatred, because they were thinking we believe in Islam, we are Muslim, cannot assimilate us. So like that hatred caused the genocide, because when you hate somebody, that hate caused the violence, right? So they hate us, and they try to just eliminate these people. They were thinking like that, and they had a government strategy for that too. But none of the government gonna plan and write down their plan that they're going to eliminate one nation from the earth, right? They don't say it,
Yeah.
they don't write down that. But whatever they're doing repeatedly, the consequences showing the eliminating these people, even they know they very well known the devastating consequences, still they repeatedly implementing the policies, those devastating destructive policies. So they know the consequences, so that's mean they know that they're going to eliminate us, but they don't write down in anywhere. So that's why what they're doing is they incarcerated since 2017. They incarcerated 1 to 3 million Uyghurs and other Turkic Muslims too.
It's crazy.
In concentration camps, separated women and men. It's not in the one camp, so it's separated. They indoctrinated and tortured in the camp. We had many eyewitnesses, camp survivors, who managed to escape from China. It's impossible to escape from China, but those women married with the foreign nationals, so their husband and other country, so they have other countries' passports. That's how they escape. After 2-3 years, they released, because one of the camp survivors' husband is Pakistani, and another one's husband is Kazakhstan. Another one has a Kazakhstan permanent residence paper. So those kind of people escaped, and they told us what happened to them. And inside the camp, how they tortured and how they raped the women. Is terrible thing is, maybe you read the BBC News too, that there is a state-sponsored mass rape camp. There's a camp, you see like huge camps there. The women describe every day, every night, they just took the girls and young women, and then when they come back, they just looks like lost, like a become ghost, and they were bruised. Some of them are never come back. They were killed over there. So it's a mass rape has happened many times to many women, is always in the camp. And that's torture exists, and the camp survivors told us the torture, how they torturing these women and the men in there. They also, the experimenting, they using their blood and experimenting this blood and making some kind of biomedicine, maybe kind of bio. So they taking the blood and DNA of blood samples and the DNA of entire Uyghur population. They're taking every day the blood samples, too many blood from the camps, people in the camp, and they also taking DNA, the entire Uyghur population inside the camp and outside the camp. There's no difference. So what they gonna do with this? And another thing is, it's a very scary thing. Even you are not inside the camp, you are monitored 24 hours with video cameras and with your phone and everything, every move. And that's not enough. They still sent the male hand cadres that the China acknowledged, that they said, oh, we sent these male hand cadres to the people's home, the Uyghurs' home, for the ethnic unity. What is this? Many of them women were arrested, and they said, oh, their husbands were arrested. We sent the male hand cadres to help them. This is in China's state media. If the woman is single, you're gonna send, if their husband were arrested with the kids, we have the videos too, and they send the male hand Chinese cadres to sleep over there and sharing their home, dining table and everything. This is unacceptable. In Islam and in our culture, it's a gross violation of privacy. Nobody can accept that, not only Muslims, nobody, but they do that. And these Han Chinese cadres manipulate these women. If they don't treat them nicely, they said your husband going to be killed in the camp, because their husband were already arrested. So they afraid that their husband going to be tortured in the camp, because these male Han cadres give them the score when they sleep over in their home. So like, this is crazy situations.
You know, it's more than unacceptable. It's truly barbaric.
Yeah, it is barbaric.
It's stories that you wouldn't hear in the worst, like these are kind of stories that you wouldn't see in the worst horror novels and the
Yeah,
worst
beyond the human
horror films. Yeah.
imagination. You see, like, I don't know
Yeah.
how they imagine and find out like that thing, you know.
You know, this can go on and on. Of course, there's a forced sterilization that's happening as well for against Uyghur women. It's the list of barbaric acts being committed by the Chinese state knows no bounds. This is something that the whole world is starting to slowly realize. You know, I want to just ask you, because China is really a planet in itself. They have their own social media pages. You know, they don't deal with Facebook, Google. They have, you know, for example, like I don't know if I'm mispronouncing this, Weibo,
WeChat, yeah.
for or WeChat, exactly. Do you feel like there's any sympathy from the average Han Chinese, some kind of understanding, or is there either I don't know, do you see any solidarity campaigns even on social media anonymously, or is this non-existent on social
No,
media?
not existent. And just in recent days on the clubhouse, because in the clubhouse, like other people around the world can see what they can hear what they're saying, right? And
Hmm.
I didn't participate that many times, just one or two times in the clubhouse, and I heard the other Chinese people were saying like, the impossible, these
Hmm.
kinds of things. They exit. Of course, there is a pressure on them, but because pressure on them, but they exaggerating. That cannot be genocide. No, there is no genocide. They just exaggerating. There is a pressure, but they don't have the China don't. We don't have an intention to eliminating them. So they cannot, because there's a fact, everything is true. So they cannot deny what's happening there, but they denying the genocide. Like they say, no, they exaggerating. Maybe there is a
Hmm.
pressure, but not that strong. They saying like that,
Yeah.
and some people say it is we. Some of the people and saying that they just these people are terrorists, extremists,
Hmm.
religious extremists. That's why our country is using very effective policy to control these people, and other countries
Hmm.
should use like that effective policy too to control the terrorism. Since 2017, since our government implemented those kind of policy, there is no terrorism and or violence acts happened in the region. It's stabilized. It is so quiet. Uyghurs are scared right now. They can't do anything. So this policy is very effective. They even supporting some Chinese people. Some Chinese people just said, "Oh, I don't think it's that much harsh. It's they are just exaggerating." And some of them is say that that's the U.S. maybe they just the U.S. media, Western media is playing. So the
Hmm.
people is Chinese people completely following the CCP's propaganda line.
Hmm. Hmm.
They just a mouthpiece of CCP propaganda. That makes me very surprised. Why they just repeating what their government saying, because they know the situation really well, but they don't want to like talk about it or stand up for the justice for the right side, because
Hmm.
they are the beneficiaries too, settlers, because China
Hmm.
colonizing this place not only with the military but with the settlers, Chinese demographically. And when these people move in, they go there, they're gonna get free land, free house, and the job.
Right.
They can get Uyghurs houses, and they can get job, and they can even get beautiful Uyghur women, whatever they choose. And if the women refuse, then the government said you have an ideological problem, you're going to concentration camps,
It's
so-called
disgusting.
re-education camps. So the Chinese just can say that I wanted this woman, so they can take it like that. So that's the benefit for them. So they want to dominate. They want to get everything, and they don't want to give up this benefit. And even they pretend to be nice person, doesn't want to be bad guy, and they say, oh, we didn't know, we never seen, because we didn't hear that. Sometimes do that, or sometimes they say, oh, we scared of our government, that's why we can't say anything. But actually they know. How come they don't know? Whole world knows. How come they don't know? Right? They are there,
Yeah.
they can see that, they can get everything. But actually they are the part of they are they, for what that communist government doing this? for their
Mm-hmm.
people. And
Right.
these people getting benefit, these settlers getting benefit. So those settlers supporting their
Of course. Of
government's barbaric
course.
action.
Of course, there's no doubt. I'm also curious since we just spoke about the Han Chinese and social media. Is there any do you see there's maybe some kind of solidarity from other oppressed people in China, like people in Tibet, Hong Kong, even Hui Muslims? Is there anything kind of visible
Yes.
or not really?
Yes, because Hong Kong people before they never talk about Uyghurs. They were so quiet, right? They didn't say
Mm-hmm.
anything. Looks like they didn't care. But
Mm-hmm.
after what happened in Hong Kong,
Mm-hmm.
they realize they see the real color of CCP. So then they start to support independence of East Turkestan. And
Right.
Taiwan understand before, and the Taiwan independence forces they support too before.
Mm-hmm.
Tibet we had a good relationship too, but Tibet is just what I'm gonna say, like they just working on for their own issues, and we are working on for our own issues, and we don't
Right.
have too much like a very close network, but still we cooperating with them. And the Hui Muslims you're talking about, they support us
Yes.
too, but they are very vegan. They are inside China, that they can't do much.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay, and I guess after just discussing, the internal peoples that are found within today's Chinese borders, I wanted to move on and discuss the international community. So, as a Uyghur, how do you feel about the international community response? Could more be done? And I really want to touch upon one thing, which is there's a huge debate that's going on in Turkey about the extradition ratification process that's happening. And as you know, there's a lot of Uyghurs in Turkey seeking refuge, and a lot of Uyghurs now are also pretty scared about the fact that if this extradition treaty is signed with China, that they may end up back in China. The Uyghurs in Turkey may end up back in China and in the internment camps. So it's a two-part question: the international response and this Turkish ratification extradition law.
That is really bad news for Uyghurs. It's a very disappointing. We never expect that Turkey will have an extradition treaty with China, because the China, of course, gonna ask the Uyghur people if Turkey ratified this treaty. But China ratified the treaty, but Turkey didn't ratify it yet. We put Uyghurs in diaspora, put pressure, and Turkish people support the Uyghurs too. And I don't think Turkish government ratified this treaty and can implement this treaty easily. I think they're gonna get huge pressure if they do that, and
I hope so.
they will destroy their reputation. I think Turkish government should think about that too. And because the international world is supporting, especially in US and the Europe, not Europe, especially US and Canada right now recognize China's genocide. Canadian Parliament and the former State Secretary Mike Pompeo recognized, and Blinken said he would agree to Pompeo's judgment too. So like these countries is hugely supporting Uyghur refugees, and the media, academics and Western media, academics in West, as they're hugely supporting, and intellectuals, they're supporting the Uyghur cause, and the population too. I live in Canada, and 80% Canadian population is strongly against China because of their oppression on Uyghurs. We don't have much community in here, but Turkey said, "Oh, like that's maybe they just playing the Uyghur cause against the China. That's not they just follow the Chinese propaganda, and they were saying like that. They playing the stake, they playing the Uyghur cause as a stake against the China for their own diplomatic relations." Okay, maybe they're using, but that's the fact. What is happening is there is truth. Why don't you use them, right? Why don't you do something, right? They don't do anything, and they say it like that. But actually, it was not like that. Look at the Canada. I live in Canada. The Canada has headache with Ming Wanzhou's issues, and Tu Michael was abducted by the China, right? So we have a huge issue with China, and the Canadian government really doesn't have a stomach to say that, say something that make China upset, because we have so many issues with China right now to deal with it. And if Canada if Canada upset the China, they not gonna buy the Canada canola oil. We selling them the oil to petrol. They don't buy that, and that's going to be huge economic damage to Canada and $1 billion economic harm. At the same time, we have a diplomatic relations too. How we're going to get back that to Michael, that if the China gets so upset, and these things they're going to think about it too. Despite that, we had so many issues there to deal with China. The Canada, the parliament members, the vote for the motion, 266 to 0. None of the parliament member against the motion to recognize China as genocide. None of them. 72 of the cabinet, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's cabinet members with Justin Trudeau abstained the vote, but that does not mean that against. They didn't against the vote. They just abstained, kept neutral. They were thinking about, because they cannot say no. They said, the Canadian government said, this is not, if they're using, how are they going to use the Uyghur cause as a stake? Because we have only, imagine, we have only in this country 3,000 to 4,000 Uyghurs, okay, whole Canada. And only in Ontario, we have around 1,000 Uyghurs. Imagine the Chinese community. They are huge. In Toronto itself, in this area, more than 10,000 Han Chinese. And Vancouver is full of Chinese city. So they give more vote to those parliament members. If these parliament members think about the vote and the Chinese community's support, or they would like to use the Uyghurs as Uyghur cause as a stake against the China something, why they have to vote to this the motion recognizing China as genocide? You know, so it's against it's not good for their benefit. But they said we cannot. This genocide cannot be any country's exclusive internal issue. Anybody has to intervene this, because this is human issue. You know, this is genocide, is barbarically killing other human there. Nobody should be bystander and silently looked up this. So we cannot we have to separate our national interest and the preventing the genocide. So this is the right thing. They cannot stand up for the right thing. But as other Muslim countries, including Turkey, they were thinking, oh, West is playing. That's a West's game. They're playing this for their own benefit. I don't know the US much, but think about Canada. They don't have any benefit. But if they recognize the China as genocide, maybe that's going to be a huge headache for them, not the benefit. You know, still they did, you see.
Yes, 100%. I see what you mean. And unfortunately, you know, there are other states like Egypt, for example, who expelled the Uyghurs from their country and
all
they
of
sent
these
them back.
kids, some of them 17, some of them 18, 17 to 26 years old. All of these kids, when they were returned, disappeared. All of them at the airport, they were arrested and disappeared. We don't know, maybe they were already killed. We don't know what's happened to these kids right now. You know?
Right. Honestly, you know, there's just so much to say about this, and it's difficult to really to be able to handle this emotional bombardment of just news when you hear and read these articles that are coming out of East Turkestan. I wanted to end this this episode with one final question, Rukiye. Honestly, like I said, you've really shed light on so many great historical facts about East Turkestan, while shedding light about the atrocities that are currently happening, unfortunately. How can the average person, you know, say, for example, living in the United States or in Europe or in the Arab world or in India or wherever, how can he be of assistance to the East Turkestani or the Uyghur cause? What can we do to assist you guys in what you guys are going through?
The China right now transferring millions of Uyghur girls to inland China for forced labor and slave labor. We have a witness who worked in the forced labor camp escape to the Kazakhstan, and they say the China said we're paying to them. They propagandizing these girls is working nicely. They found a job. Those kind of propaganda they're giving, but actually that's all of them are fake news. They just making like that, let the girls talk like that. Those girls are scared. Of course, when they taking the video, they just ask them to memorize what the Chinese Communist Party say. They're gonna say, oh, I have a beautiful life, I'm living like that. That's all fake. It's like a movie, you know. But
Right.
the real story behind this is totally different. When people, the camp survivors or eyewitnesses come to tell us, it's totally different. These women were suffering. They were separated, ripped apart from their families. Unmarried girls were separated from their community and the male population. So how they gonna marry with the Uyghur man and then to contribute reproduction to the population? In this way, the Uyghur population going to decline quickly, right? And then married women even separated from their children and the family, sent with the many years contract to inland China. One of the girl in TikTok video and China's Douyin video, she was talking, I have little child. She was crying. She said, I must have to sign the contract and to go to the work at the factory, and they have to take my child. So only I can see 2 weeks at a time. Once my child come back, I must do that. And in that the facility, the children's facility care, those are not the orphanage kids. That lot of orphanage kids, that's a different issue. I will talk about it. Those kids were more than 500,000, half million Uyghur kids were taken to orphanage camps because their parents were arrested. And what this woman talking about here, she was not arrested. Her husband was not arrested. She's outside of the camp, the person outside of the camp, but government forced her to go to sign the contract and work at the factory. So they're gonna take her child, like residential daycare, not the daycare, residential kids facility center, something like that. So these kids gonna stay there, and she was crying. She said, my kids come back, they poured on hot water the kids. So my kid is scared of water right now. My child was burned, and she said, I don't want to send to my kid, but they forcing me to sign the contract and to go there. That's why I go there. And they poured the hot water. My kid, when she come back, she just scared of water. I don't know how I'm going to send tomorrow my kid to them again. She was crying like that. So you see, even the people not inside the camps is suffering like that. They're forcing women work in the forced labor camp, many factories. And we are the individuals and any average person outside of the world directly connect with them. How? Because we're using those made in China products. Many women may be wearing the wig. Those wigs were shaved by the Uyghur women in the camps. Those wigs are the hair of Uyghur women. The millions tons of wigs made in China came to here, and they selling in the Facebook, on the social media. There's nice wigs, right, made in China. All of them, those wigs, all of them comes from China, and they shave it the Uyghur women in the camp, and that's their hairs. And we wearing that. Imagine that maybe when you wear that wigs, this woman who you are wearing her hair, but this woman are tortured in that camp and killed maybe. Imagine that you are wearing t-shirt made in China, cotton t-shirt or other cotton product, picked by forced labor camp, the slave labor camp, Uyghur slaves. The women like you, men like you, young men like you, made those goods because they are a slave there in this 21st century. And we are using those products and indirectly supporting China's crime. And we are complicit to continuing of those slave workers to suffer over there. So that's why we should boycott any kind of made in China product, because they never put this made by Uyghur or made by East Turkestan or Xinjiang or Urumqi, something like that, right? So that's why we have to just boycott made in China. Then maybe we can stop, and we have to protest front of those big companies, corporations. All of them has a supply chains in China. involved with
Right.
forced labor. They have to send the independent investigation. They have to stop the forced labor. If not, we should boycott all of them. H&M, Zara, many of them, all of them made in
Mm-hmm.
China. Gucci, LV, all of them, they're made in China, right? They're using Uyghur
Right.
slave labor. But some people ask me, okay, how do we know it was made by Uyghur slave labor or paid by Chinese worker?
Yeah.
That's the problem, because we cannot differentiate. China lie. They never put on the tag where it was made. So
Mm-hmm.
we have to boycott completely if when we don't buy, when their economy is going down, they cannot, because they want to be huge superpower. They want to control the world. They want to expand through Silk Road, right? The One Belt,
Yes.
One Road project. That's
Yes.
why they're killing Uyghurs, because they expand the Silk Road to 3 corridors pass from East Turkestan. That's why
Yeah.
they're killing Uyghurs. That's why they eliminate the Uyghurs, because they want to totally control East Turkestan. So they don't want to, for example, anybody come from other Muslim countries. Those Uyghurs are not Muslim, so they cannot get any effect. Like when they completely eradicate Muslims over there, so they
Mm-hmm.
cannot get any influence from other Muslims from the other countries when they come to
Mm-hmm.
that region, right? So China cannot get any influence from other Muslim countries when these people become not Muslim. So, but if they are Muslim, they are different people, so they can easily unite it with other Muslim countries too. So that's China maybe worrying too. So that's why they want to kill all of the Uyghurs over there. And if we can um, contribute to stop China's economic expansion, that will help maybe China to rethink about their policy, about a policy of genocide. They have to realize maybe there is a consequence. They have to realize there is a price to pay if they kill the Uyghurs and other Turkic Muslims in the region.
Yes. 100%. And honestly, to end this episode, I hope, I hope that Muslim majority governments, or governments from the Muslim world rather, and Western governments and the international community in general all get together and start putting some real pressure on China. And
I hope the sorry to
yes,
interrupt you. I hope
no,
the
no, go
Muslim
for it.
countries really put this issue is differently. They should not. And now the American hatred because an adversary of the United States, because what United States did to the Middle East before, and many of the
Yes.
Muslim countries, because they against the United States, they were, and the United States is supporting Uyghurs and they don't want to support the Uyghurs. I
Mm.
hope these countries should separate this issue with their relationship with the United States and the Uyghur cause. They should separate it as two issues.
Yes, yes, I hope so too. And all we can do is pray that something happens and really take initiative in this regard. There's many ways you can reach out to your local representatives, and you can put pressure on companies that have factories and, as you mentioned, supply chain and based in China. And from there, once they see the numbers going down, only then will they start reconsidering what they're doing. But until then, this genocide unfortunately seems like it's continuing
Yeah.
unabated, with no stop to it, and we keep hearing more and more atrocious stories coming out, more barbaric stories that one shouldn't be hearing in this day and age. I'm Like I said, this was a very deep topic, and Rukhaya, I appreciate you taking the time to sit down with me on the Tripolitan to discuss this issue, and I hope that this episode will serve as, a drop in the awareness ocean. I hope this is, a way to contribute to the awareness campaign that's going on for the Uyghur cause, and hopefully people will realize China's level of atrocities that are being committed against the Uyghur people, who are our brothers and sisters. Thank you so much, Ruqayya, for being on. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward you and liberate your people from the Chinese grip.
Thank you very much for having me.
I want to thank the audience for listening to this episode today. Thank you all, and have a good day.